Hey, my name is Carl Craig, and welcome to All Black Digital, a series based on all Black vinyl, where I play music for Black History Month that has been made, created, produced, thought of, conjured up by Black artists, musicians, visionaries. Today, we're talking to the one and only DeForrest Brown Jr.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's great. Excuse me, but sometimes, I get memory farts, memory lapses, and stuff like that. And DeForrest is the man behind Make Techno Black Again, which is amazing. It's necessary to have that voice, because unfortunately things change over the years, and techno's been around for a long time, just like the blues, just not as long as the blues, just like jazz, not as long as jazz, but as long as rap and hip hop, definitely. So, DeForrest, do you get a lot of haters?
Oh yeah. yeah. Get a lot of haters. But I mean, I think it comes from this idea of kind of like trying to claim a space, especially within like how much is the dance music industry worth? About $324 billion. There's a lot of money at stake, I guess, for like claiming who made techno and I'm not, as someone who worked as a music journalist for the last 10 years, I'm not really interested in all that. I just want to get the story right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd say that there's been some haters, but not too concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
We actually donated a bit over $7,000 to various like Detroit educational groups, also including Underground Music Academy, which Wajid and Mike Banks started at the old like NAACP headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tressor is actually working with them as well on some stuff, but that's pretty much where all the money from the hats is going now. Yeah, the hope is to just bring awareness to the fact that techno is both Black and American, but also to just, I don't know. I mean, I want to spread this idea of electronic music and this idea of like, being able to like make your own music to people, especially people where I'm from, like in Birmingham, but just, so yeah, not too concerned about the haters.
Okay. And how do you drowned it out? Because I consider it white noise. And there's white noise in electronic music, of course, can be quite necessary. It helps back up sounds, like when you use a clap and you add white noise behind it, it can add, presence to it. But television white noise is another story.
Yeah.
It's irritating and constant. And, when I was growing up, that when it went white noise, that or the test patterns, then nobody else is on TV. There was nothing else to watch.
Oh my God, you got the national anthem at what, like 10 o'clock? Yeah, I've heard these stories.
Yeah, 10 o'clock, where do you know where your children are, that kind of thing. So in the sense of this white noise, like how do you ignore it?
I'm kind of a masochist in this way, but I like dive straight into it. See, my dad's a military guy, so he like used to show me that movie Patton like all the time as a kid. It's like his favorite movie.
Okay.
So I've seen that opening scene with like the flag and like him like, talking about kicking like butt and stuff for like many times over the years. So I don't know. What I end up kind of doing is just really meticulously like researching the situation, and just kind of knowing what my like just where I stand in things. And I think most importantly for me, especially when it comes to techno, is actually going to the people that made it and going to the elders and like talking with them about it and reading the actual like liner notes. Like I'm always telling people like, I went and actually bought like you know, the new dance sound of Detroit, read the liner notes, and actually like sat with it. Because like I said, I'm a music journalist, or was a music journalist, and saw how kind of rot that whole industry is. And I know all the narratives because I worked in the offices, and it's kind of like the Matrix, like bullet time or something. You just like walk into the room and you move between the frequencies, and that actually happens quite a bit in my music too. I use a lot of white noise and a lot of excess like reverberated sounds and kind of decayed sounds to really fill up the space. I guess you would kind of call that like a lot of like dub mixing and stuff, but yeah, I really try to use those use the excess white noise as a guiding post for where I need to go.
Okay. And to use, speaking in the sense of using white noise in a positive way, I mean, do you use it as some sort of reference to be able to balance out your signals? Do you use that? It's usually with pink noise, I think, where you can get all your levels about right by, putting the noise in and then just pushing the level of an instrument high enough so you can barely hear it over the noise, and then that helps to get your balances correct.
Man, you actually just explained my mixing to me, which is kind of
Okay.
interesting. Because yeah, I never actually thought about pink noise, but that's totally it. Because I'm from, so I say I'm from Birmingham, but I grew up in Bessemer, where like Gucci Mane's from. That's where he was before he burned down that house and moved to Atlanta. but I because of that, I use a lot of like hi-hat sounds. So I try to do like a fusion of like techno, like 808, 909 kind of drumming with like hi-hats. And the whole thing is trying to like take techno and put it into like the Coltrane kind of quartet format and just get these like different sounds to interact with each other. And the white noise is really helpful because it adds a bit of like a background layer. And then, you have all these like dub and stretch like rhythms kind of coming in that just, I don't know, it gets pretty psychedelic. But I never really thought about pink noise as what I was doing, but no brown noises though. Or brown notes.
But brown noise actually is, I use it for trying to recalibrate my ears, or after I play really loud at a gig for a long time, is brown noise to kind of cleanse my ears in some way, because brown noise is like waterfall.
Yeah.
So it's basically white noise with the high end pulled out. So it's maybe the most natural simulation of real environment, real outdoor environments, being at the beach, like I said, waterfall, that kind of stuff. So, and for years I've used it, but before that, I would go to the beach to listen to the waves, to recalibrate my ears, or to just soothe my ears and stuff. And I swear by it, but I mean,
oh, that's interesting. That's interesting because I end up using a lot of like really high pitched sounds a lot too, along with like low bass. But I think that's just from growing up in like the marching band, and like I played trumpet my whole life since I was like 6.
Okay.
And like I was obsessed with like hitting like the super C. I never got there. My dad could do it, but I never got there. But because of that, you can just press a super C or press a button to make the super C happen. So I have all these kind of like super high frequencies and then like super low kind of like rhythms going, and you just kind of have this like kind of dynamic going. But you talking about waves made me think about some stuff that I do with background sounds a lot, where I use a lot of like granulated like field recordings that just kind of sit there in the stereo field to kind of fill in the space, and it kind of pans around, and it's really it definitely has like a, maybe I won't say healing effect. I'll be honest and say I'm not really trying to heal anybody with my music. It's all aggression. So
right.
Yeah. And like I feel bad sometimes when I hear people saying like, I make music to like heal people, and I grew up in the church, and I know what it feels like to have to be healed by music, but now I'm just trying to punch folks in the face sometimes.
Right, sure. Because sometimes that healing, that concept of trying to heal somebody through music, it sounds great, but it's a bit pretentious, It's it's something that it really makes you feel like you've gained something, because in the church, and I don't come from Black churches in Detroit. My grandparents had a church in the South, and that's where I got that, where I got those feelings from, or where I've seen things, and church that I grew up here is Lutheran, so there was none of that. It was just pipe organ and a whole bunch of bad singing.
Oh man.
So
no drums, no keys, like
huh?
I said no drums, no keys, like
Man, the only drums that we had was trumpet. I'm sorry, was timpani. I had to get the name passed because I was thinking timbali. It's like, what? No, we had timpani, and I played timpani in church here.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I come from. I'm a guitar player, but I come from drums too. But timpani was the first drums that I played, and I might have been 12 or 11 or something. And it was me and this grown ass man that whenever they couldn't get him, I was the timpani player, and it was cool. But with the church, because my mom's a very skeptical person, and there was this one woman who used to come down, and she'd have the Holy Ghost. My granddad would go to pick her up to bring her, because she was like almost like the hype man, like she was the one who was always affirming everything, always anything. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right.
See, that's what I come from. You get like 50 people in the church like doing backflips and speaking in tongues. No, I mean, and maybe I may not be trying to heal people per se, like in that pretentious way with my music, but it's definitely trying to like hide an emotion. Because like I have a lot, I seem calm, but I have a lot of emotions in me. And it's one of those like Dragon Ball Z things where, a set starts and I'm just like, and everyone in the room's like, and yeah, no, that definitely comes from being in the Southern church, where you have like, the preacher is like the band leader, you got your like 50-piece choir and the drummer, the 2 keyboardists, and it's just going off. We actually had a keyboardist who was messing around with a lot of effects. So you'd have like all these like crazy space sounds and stuff going on. And I always tell people that was probably one of my first moments seeing the potentials for techno, because like I heard, like my dad used to go to Detroit and Chicago for parties and knew a lot of DJs, so I grew up hearing like Cybertron next to like George Clinton, and next to Cameo, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and stuff. So I heard all that stuff together and always thought of techno as funk music. But in the church was the first time I actually saw like I'll say the organizational structure, like the keys, the drum machine, like just kind of seeing people like jamming on like rack synthesizers and stuff. But yeah, to be in a church with timpani, that's I mean, it's cool. Pipe organs are interesting. I love pipe organs.
Yeah, pipe organs, it's just not my bag, man.
Have you ever been inside it? Like gone into like the it's kind of crazy, like on the inside. I had a music appreciation teacher in school that took us to his church and literally like walked us inside the pipe organ. It was like, just look at it. That was pretty humbling.
I mean, it's big. Those things are big. Now I have no idea how, because if you have the pipes above the altar, but then the organ players over there, I'm curious to how they get that.
It's the whole building. Yeah, that's
What?
what he was telling. It's the entire building. Like you actually can't build the church without the pipe organ. Like they're like literally one big like. Actually, I mean, you've been to Berghain, but like Berghein's kind of an interesting capitulation of that, where like the whole building is an instrument, where like you hear that kick drum just going around the entire damn like factory.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know that until that like music appreciation course where the dude he literally looked like Beethoven, like had like the ponytail and the like white hair, and
Oh no shit.
yeah, you kind of walk into class and oh my god, first day of class, he actually made everybody take a map test. It was just like put every like country on the map, and it wasn't even for a grade. He was just like laughing at us. He's like, he's just like, I just wanted to see. But
That's
no,
great.
he was the one who actually told me that it was the entire building,
Okay.
which has always blown my mind and has been a really big influence in my music too. Just making like giant architectural music for God, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, is for God.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure there's a lot of Satan up in that bad boy too.
Yeah, Lucifer was an angel.
Lucifer was an angel. Yes, that's right. That's right. Well, man. So, like the music that you made last year, and we talked about this. Your cousin was doing a very impassioned plea in the piece that I thought was amazing, and of course it captured what was happening with George Floyd in 2020, and everything that was happening, that the whole movement of things that were going on. You know, I felt that it brought back that kind of militant thing that underground resistance, you know, were doing. Of course, the militant thing from Public Enemy, you know, which is a direct influence on underground resistance and what, you know, Mike and Jeff were doing. But of course, what Mike, you know, did more over time and stuff. Um, uh, so yeah, give me some insight on this.
Oh, thanks for the comparison. That actually means a lot. I grew up like my dad used to blast Fear of a Black Planet as a kid, or when I was a kid, and yeah, no, and underground resistance is like everything to me. But the record, Black National Sonic Weaponry, kind of, it's funny. I had actually been working on that for about 6 months to a year before. I had all the track titles listed out. And I mean, I kind of mentioned before, I'm from Birmingham. Like I grew up the street from the 16th Street Baptist Church. That was bombed. Son Rob grew up in my neighborhood, Angela Davis. So there's a lot of monuments and history left over that I was just kind of like raised in and around. And, you know, it's one of those crazy things where I actually grew up like with segregation. And that's something I always feel like I have to like tell people, is that like I actually didn't meet white people in mass until I was like 18. So
Mhm.
there's a real like, especially with moving to New York and trying to be a music journalist and making music, I was like literally stepping into the future, in the sense that I was the only kid on my block that like, or in my neighborhood, that had the internet, while also being like living in like 100-year-old house that my great grandfather, who was an ex-slave, built. So it's one of those things where it's literally like past and future at the same time. But I say that to say, like, politically speaking, I kind of saw a lot of the protests and uprisings kind of coming from a mile away, and was just kind of, you know, stewing away, preparing for it. And also, I mean, preparing the dance music world for this reckoning that was inevitably going to happen. And I mean, Theo Parrish in like 2014, I think, also, it was Theo Parrish who kind of turned me on to the fact that maybe I should be thinking a bit more politically about this, after he wrote that like Facebook post after the murder of Trayvon Martin. But anywho, I was gonna take some time and really like try to build it up, and, you know, work with some musicians and try to do this whole like, you know, operatic kind of thing. But then George Floyd was murdered, and, you know, I turned to my partner, was like, fuck, grabbed some shrooms and just like knocked it out in like 2 takes over the weekend. And so it's like it's a 47-minute long album that the tracks were done in 2 sides. So I just went and like improvised and had like my structures and kind of like basically chopped up the tracks at certain stopping points that I made for myself in Ableton. And one of those stopping points was from my cousin who you mentioned. I saw her on Instagram shortly after the protest started, and she posted that poem that she had like just written. I don't know when she wrote it, but she like did a whole video with the poem, and I was like, I hit her up and was like, hey, you got to jump on this record. I cut her a check and like from the label and gave her writing credits and just like went for it. And then the last track, if you got a hold of the deluxe version of the album, there's this other like 30-minute long piece with me and this guy named Ariel Valdez, who is a good friend of mine that's kind of this like battle rapper from the Bronx that studied philosophy and chemistry. And he and I, in an event for my partner's clothing line, just improvised. Like I had like machine drums going or drum machines going, and he just rapped the whole history of the drum and like African American music, and it was all one take. We like recorded it, cut it, and stuck it on the album. So yeah, it was kind of eerily fortuitous that I was already working on that record and kind of like prepared for it. Yeah, I got some more stuff coming, more cousins to work with. I have a cousin in Detroit I got so many cousins. I got another cousin in Detroit who's a singer, whose mom was like a opera teacher and like or opera singer and vocal coach in Detroit for a long time. Okay. So I've been thinking about working with her. I got another cousin who's a rapper who I want to do some like trap tracks with, and that's going to be my thing moving forward. It's just like kind of these like Black family affairs and keeping my head low.
And it's going to be under the same artist name?
Yeah, speaker music for your speakers.
Right, because when I found that track of yours, then Robert Hood had released a track that is it the Detroit track, I think it's called.
Oh well, yeah.
But it's got a similar thing happening with it as well. I'm not sure if that's somebody who he had brought into the studio, or if that was some recording that he had already used before. But when we were doing our parties at TV Bar during the lockdown, I started out my set with both those tracks, which was like super. It was super powerful, just like crazy power, because it was maybe because we were doing our vinyl freaks parties in the backyard, and then when we went over to TV Bar, then we were doing it on the patio or outside, so that everybody could get some air and still be able to listen to music and stuff. And it was really like poignant to of course start out with yours and then to go into this Robert Hood thing, and then I segued my way to whatever else I was playing. But to start out militant, to really, because even 2 months after George Floyd, it was still hardcore, it was still heavy, there was still protests and fights and riots and all kinds of things, and on the news constantly. And I don't think there were people looking for solutions, talking about solutions, but you had a whole other crew of people that didn't give a fuck about solutions, and just it was some crazy times, man. It's crazy that was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still going in a weird way where, I mean, I don't know if you follow the anti-critical race theory stuff, but it's an interesting time. And it's been really important to me to kind of highlight this stuff. And thanks for playing the track. That actually, that means a lot, because I think I've told you this before, but like you were actually the first techno DJ I've ever seen.
Oh,
Yeah, I like drove 8 hours to Moke Fest and like, yeah, actually,
oh,
yeah. No, it's one of those things where like, like I said, I moved to New York because I wanted to see the future. I wanted to go see like, see a place where I mean, Robert Hood lives in Alabama, but I don't know if
yeah.
he plays around there too much.
I don't. I don't think Robert.
Not that there's
I'm,
like actually places to go either to play, but
I'm not going to speak like I know.
yeah, I don't know.
But his I think his thing in Alabama is his congregation.
Yeah.
So that's his performance. I believe more than him trying to play any clubs in Alabama.
Yeah, I mean they get the real stuff.
I
They get the sauce. Yeah.
wonder if he's got a hype man. If he's
Oh my
got
god.
Yeah, if he's got somebody who does speaks in tongues and everything.
See, that's what we need. We need like a techno set where folks are just going off, speaking in tongues. Like that's what I want to see. And a big part of Make Techno Black Again for me actually was the fact that I went to Berghain. First time I ever went, I wore the hat and nobody was speaking in tongues. And I was just like, we can do like the little dance all we want, but like, man, you gotta catch that Holy Spirit. And that's what my live sets are all about. It's just catching the Holy Spirit and sharing it.
And I mean, have you felt any type of reaction from your crowds? I mean, have you done the speaker music live?
Yeah, my live sets are. It really depends on the setting. Heading forward, it seems like I'm going to be playing a lot of concert halls lately, and maybe that's an indictment of how it's been received on the dance floor. Because I play all live, and I usually use like an iPad, so all my rhythms are like played like a keyboard.
Okay.
So it gets kind of crazy. Like there's no 4 on the floor because I never figured out how to do it. I'm just kind of like tapping these beats out. But no, the live sets the reception has typically been people just kind of like sitting there just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll have people come up later and be like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I don't know, I just let off some steam. That's really what it's mostly about. It's just like letting out a lot of pent up energy and just showing them that dirty South.
So okay, so then your rhythms are coming from the standpoint of you hearing the rhythm section of the marching band as a trumpet player.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's literally like projecting a bunch of drum sounds, and then I mean Coltrane kind of did that with the whole like sheets of sound thing, where he would like throw out a bunch of notes and then wait for it to come back, and you get this like cluster of notes, and then the band kind of like follows that. And I'm definitely trying to do something like that. I mean, it gets interesting because of the way I drum. Like, I actually can't sit still. Like, I have to kind of like pop and lock and dance to actually to get some of these transitions. And so that ends up getting pretty interesting. I end up like crowd surfing and shit sometimes.
Right.
Or like standing on top of a speaker, just like beating my chest. It really depends.
Okay, that's great. So you're your own hype man then.
Yeah. Yeah, I wear the mask. I was doing the mask thing before COVID because I was just like, because it is for me to then like, it's for me, but it's also for others in this weird way of like, don't look at me, just like feel my energy.
Right. Yeah. So when, as a trumpet player in the marching band, where are the drums in relation to where you are in the formation?
That's a really good question. And I've actually never said this before, but the exact thing I'm always imagining is this one time in college, my senior year, I had a trumpet solo, and there's like me off kind of to the side, and then you have like the flag girls kind of like around with the flag, so it's just like me and like all these fluorescent like flags going, and then the drum line is behind those flags, and then the rest of the band is kind of like off in a concert setting to like I guess that'll be like my left. And that's probably what I'm always imagining when I'm performing, is that like idea of just like flags going off in like drums. I mean my stuff probably comes off really like masked and aggressive to a lot of people, but it's I don't know, it's just like the environment I grew up in. Like it's a lot of just a lot of energy. I mean, yeah, a lot of street parties, a lot of like, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like I'm a
Okay.
pretty calm, nerdy dude, but like, you know, where I come from, like you probably heard of like Freaknik and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, man. I've been a Freaknik.
Yeah, so it's I'm the dude in the corner who's taking notes, being like, "Oh, okay, so you
Right.
drop, you know, you drop on your hands and you twerk upside down. Gotcha." Like, I just try to like adapt that as best I can in
Right.
this like other setting. So it's, I mean, that's why I say it's not necessarily for other people, because it's, I'm always trying to like transcribe this other culture that I purposely kind of moved away from, again, to like see the future.
Right.
But yeah, where the drums fit, it's, the drums are behind the flags, and I don't know what the flags are in my music. Maybe that's like the white noise. Maybe those are the haters like waving their flags. I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, hey, stand over there.
Yeah, right, right. So the I I have this theory. No, you know what? I get kind of tired of people saying theories. I need to stop using that. I have a theory.
I study philosophy. I got you.
My
I didn't finish.
that's I didn't take it. My view of music, especially a record that you know is a hit, is when a marching band can play it.
Oh yeah, that yeah, yeah.
If the marching band can play it, then it's definitely a hit. So when Kanye did that thing for the Dave Chappelle street party, I guess you didn't see it,
No,
but
I didn't.
he brought a marching band with him and he was rapping.
I'm looking this up as soon as we're
Yeah,
done.
check it out because it's sweet. But I think that might have been when it made sense to me in that way. But I was at a hotel in Ghent, Belgium, home of RNS, right? And there was it wasn't a marching band, but it was voiced like a marching band. It was their version of a street band. So they probably would play, you know, their folk music or their, you know, their papa or whatever kind of music is normal in Belgium. But this band was only playing Daft Punk tracks. And how the arrangements were, it was like, I hear it, I hear it. You know, it doesn't sound like it's, you know, it doesn't sound right. It sounds like you could release it exactly how it is, you know, that you could take around the world. Can you imagine like horns and you know trombone, tubas, and they're playing around the world, or they're playing Get Lucky, or they're playing, you know, some of the other tracks I can't remember from Daft Punk. It was quite a revelation for me to hear that. You know, I remember the first time I said this was to my boy Phil, who does the travel for us, and Phil is in a Def Leppard and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, you know, you got to hit when a marching band, when brass can play it, you know, you got to hit.
That's something that really reminds me of home, because like, I mean, music listening down south is real. It's real different because, I mean, you have the radio, so you have like live trap beats being made on the radio and like the MC coming over, and then suddenly there's like a radio play happening, like a soap opera, like happening with the trap beats, and it's just like crazy. And then you can even see like the radio station setting up outside the local Walmart. So like, you know, you're going to get your groceries and like they're just right there passing out like t-shirts and shit. But then you have the marching bands, and I always thought that was interesting because no, you're right, the marching bands would like kind of act like Samuel Jackson and like Do the Right Thing or some shit, where like they would adapt like, yeah, all these popular songs that you would hear them at the football games. And probably with my music, I think speaker music definitely was this attempt to take that flexibility of like adapting other styles into that bass concert structure, and then like, yeah, abstracting it further, I guess. No, that's, yeah. No, marching bands are interesting, and like people don't look into it as much, but it's a really, because actually, Sun Ra, he went to the same college as my parents, Alabama Agricultural Mechanical University, and he had his first revelation while in that band. I found out when I was reading his biography. He was like playing in the band and like saw Saturn while playing. And when you ask me about where I fit with the drums, I think that's why I think back to playing that solo, is because I didn't imagine Saturn, but there was something about, that formation, something about playing where you like go to that other space, you meet your like spirit self or whatever, and have that whole like ego death moment. And no, there's something to that, to this like, to playing in like a big ass ensemble like that and just making a lot of organized noise together.
I can imagine, because I don't have it, where you can see color through sound.
Oh yeah.
Synesthesia.
Yeah, no, I got it.
How you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I can only imagine that that it can help to spark even more imagination that can come from it. So, I don't know what you see, but I can imagine that if I saw red, that it would be a distorted thing that would, spark some other images to happen, or blue or green or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny you said red. That's typically when I play, I ask for all red lighting and like nothing else. Just strobe the red, then like bathe the entire room in warm red.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's for that reason. Synesthesia is a weird thing, because it's like, I think everyone has it to a degree, in the sense that like you can make sense of the patterns. The whole seeing the sounds thing is a bit, I say it's a bit extra, like a bit much. Yeah, it's a bit much. It's but that, when you do see the shapes and stuff, that's when you really like, when you're in that groove, when you're it always makes me think about funk music too. Like for me, like funk music isn't even a genre. It's that place where your face scrunches up and you're just like ooh, that's so tight, that's so funky, like,
stank face, right?
Yeah, it's the stank face. If you're making a stank face, you got it. Like that's when you're succeeding.
Yeah. When I the way I play, the way I DJ, the way I play as synthesizer ensemble, any of that stuff, there's something I'm chasing, there's something I'm always trying to chase, but because of the way that I listen to music, especially DJing, it would be putting together the rhythms that would make it possible to get stank face. But as a musician, playing guitar, because that's where I come from, playing drums, where you hit something, it's just like, it's like, ooh, it's so good it hurts,
Yeah.
And I haven't found that with DJing, because I'm not scratching.
Yeah.
I think
I can't DJ, so
okay.
Yes, that's the thing. Maybe there's something to that, actually, because that's actually why I say my music probably isn't healing for people, because like I don't know if people get the stank face moment from the same stuff I do. So it's one of those things of like, but yeah, so when you're DJing and like,
maybe I should write that as a late New Year's resolution: find the stank face.
Yeah.
Because I'm always concerned about the one. You know, that's James Brown funk. The one is God, as Boosie says, the one is God.
Yeah, looking for the perfect beat.
Yeah, I'm always looking for that one. But, you know, there are people who come from, you know, South America, or they come from Germany, or they come from wherever else, that when they mix, their concept of mixing, actually they'll mix based on putting the one on the two. So you'll get this other thing that happens, and it drives me crazy because I'm so used to the downbeat of the one. You know, I'm so used to like in when you're playing with musicians in jazz, is called on the other side. So I'm so used to when you hear somebody on the other side, it's just like, hold on, stop everything.
Yeah.
Stop everything. You're on the wrong side, you know. Do it again and I'm gonna stab you. You know, so finding that thing, and yeah, there's some great rhythms, there's some great ideas that can come from it, but it's something that drives me a little nuts, you know. So
I'll probably never get a Grammy for this exact reason. Like the beats on the 1 and the 4 and the 3, like what? Yeah, no, I mean, because I use a lot of kick drums, so I'll have like 3 kick drums dropping on 3 different beats, so all of them could be the one.
Right.
But that's just because I don't know, ADHD or something.
No, I mean, if it sounds right.
I mean, that's where it gets weird. Like with a lot of like post-punk music, you get those weird like angular rhythms, especially with like was it the Clash that was working with oh my god, I can't believe it. Lee Scratch Perry. Yeah, I think it was the Clash. Yeah, but you start maybe. But especially once you start getting into like dub mixing and stuff, because I try to use, so I'll give away my setup. I have like an iPad and I use an aux cord that I run into my audio interface that then is run through Ableton as a multi-channel mixer. So all Ableton really is for is just for me to like pan these drums around and then to throw a lot of the like white noise to then pan around in response to the drums. So it gets really like really hazy. But yeah, I mean, I've been actually spending a lot of time lately trying to figure out how to get back to the one. Like I can't find it. Like I end up like just getting these real fucked up rhythms that make me happy.
Yeah, but that's what's important though. You know, I mean, you have to be satisfied before you can satisfy the algorithm.
Well, yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing where, like I said, I have to kind of dance sometimes to get the rhythms, which last time I played in Poland, I was playing Unsound Festival in like October. And at one point just jumped off the stage and went out to the crowd, was like, look, this is how you dance to it. And just started like kind of crumping and being like, look, here's the rhythm. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And kind of jumped in.
All right, really?
It gets wild.
Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know.
All right, maybe you need to make a video showing people how to dance to your music.
Yeah, maybe that's what needs to happen. It's like one of those well, I mean, Kanye got the new workout plan.
Yeah.
Where Beyonce's Get Me Body extended. Yeah, I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, we can work together on the cha-cha slide and like figure this out.
Cha-cha slide. Wow. Wow. Okay. You know, I haven't danced because I you know, when I DJ, I don't dance. When I play, I don't really dance. And I have this there's this movie called Bedazzled.
Oh.
The original has what's his name who played Arthur in it? The little guy. Man, I can't remember his name. But anyway, what the movie's about is this guy was a dishwasher. He is in love with this girl, and he makes a deal with the devil to be able to get this girl. And the devil puts him in all these different situations where, of course, he gets one step forward, and then the devil comes in and knocks him 10 steps back. And there's this scene where he puts him as a pop star, and he's singing this song, you know, just love me, and the girls are going crazy in the audience. And the girl that he wants, she's like really, you know, like, she's just like, oh, I love you, like all the rest of them. Oh, and he's like, yeah, just love me. And he's like, yeah, this is gonna be great. She loves me, finally, she loves me. And then the devil comes out with his band. And it's like this, ooh.
Oh no.
I'm bedazzled. He goes, I don't care. Ooh, I'm bedazzled. I don't love you. And when I saw that, it's like, yes, that's it right there. That is me in a nutshell. So when you see me play, I'm the devil from Bedazzled. And the one that wanted love was Dudley Moore, and the devil was his partner, Peter Cook, I think his name was.
Wow.
And it's like, that's in a nutshell me. So my stank face has been, you know, like taken over by, you know, my devil coming out. You know, most people think the devil is, you know, like, the devil is doing all this voodoo shit.
Nah, he did the music in heaven. That's why he had to leave. God was like, turn all that noise down.
Yes, and I play loud.
Yeah.
All right, well, you know, we've had a very in-depth conversation, but I know that we can go another 5 or 6 hours. This is the thing. And I don't know if I have enough recording space to do another 5 or 6 hours. but you know, maybe this might have to be like a future collaboration or something, you know, like
let's keep talking. We can get into Atomic Dog next.
Oh my God. You know, we haven't even scratched the surface, bro.
Yeah. My dad's an Omega.
Okay.
So that's the other piece of this.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna cut it on the Omega stank face.
Yeah.
This has been All Black Digital with DeForrest Brown Jr. and his Make Techno Black Again. His music is available as speaker music on Beatport, because that's where I got mine. And his music is available wherever you want to find it. Is it available on vinyl?
Yeah. You can get it through Red Eye Distribution. I think it's kind of, or like Bleep is where you can get one of the records. But yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, because I got to get the vinyl so I can play it on All Black Vinyl.
Thank you.
Yes. So once again, this is All Black Digital, let's call it a subsidiary of All Black Vinyl. My name is Carl Craig, and thank you all for joining us. This has been fantastic.